What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. Now, tonight, this video, I sat for a couple days trying to figure out how to make this video work. So, of course, we all know Luke Sandow passed away. I put up a video about, it was about Luke, but it was also about other people that have passed away and how when people don't discuss what the reason for them passing away is, it leads to speculation, and sometimes that's actually worse than actually telling people what happened. When you tell people what happened, most of the time they can at least comprehend it, or it makes sense to them, and it completes the whole situation, like it's closure for them. Without that closure, they have a hard time with that, and they tend to make up stories to create closure if the whole story is not there, and that's what the whole video is about. After I saw some of Luke's friends talking about how he passed, because I made the video not knowing how he passed away. Ben Chow actually was his training partner and his best friend. And Ben I met, Ben and I were both 5%ers. I think I met him for the first time in Vegas at the Olympia. Probably around 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. And super nice guy, and I'm glad that he came out and said that Luke actually passed away by taking his own life. Now, Ben came out to say that because he actually had seen the things that I saw online, the speculation as to how Luke had passed away. But this all is not what this video is about. This is all presenting, bringing you what I'm going to talk about so that you understand where I'm coming from and why I'm going to talk about the things I'm talking about tonight, because they are extremely important to talk about. So, that being said, one of the things that Ben said really kind of rung true to me was that, you know, we don't talk enough about this mental health issue. You know, depression, mental health, people really suffer. And there are signs that we don't pick up on because we're busy with our day-to-day lives. And some people, they don't want to ask for help because they don't want to be a burden. But if you look, you can see some signs sometimes, and sometimes we're afraid to talk about it because we don't want to appear weak or crazy or stupid or dumb or idiotic, or, you know, just we don't want to draw any attention to ourselves negatively because we're already in a bad place. That's where, you know, where people don't have a tendency to talk about mental health, right? Because they don't want to be considered crazy or stupid or whatever. But I think it's about time that we all start talking, and I hope that whoever sees this, I hope to God that there are other pros out there right now that are going to discuss what I'm going to discuss right now. I know some won't. They'll never show weakness or vulnerability, so they'll never do it. But this is real, and this is stuff that, you know, let's be 100% real. Everything that we do on here in the fitness industry, we are helping people with their workouts, helping people with their diet, helping people with everything that's like athletic like that. Sometimes just helping people with life in general. Now, this is one of the things that we should be trying to help with if we can. Now, I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist. These other pro bodybuilders are not. We're just people. And we're people with stories just like you. We're people with stories like Luke. We're people with stories that are similar or maybe even mimic yours. But we are just people just like you. And we go through things just like you do. And matter of fact, we go through all the things that you go through. We go through breakups. We go through losses. We go through death. We go through money problems. We go through pets passing away. We go through, you know, losing muscle, gaining muscle. We go through everything. We go through everything that you go through. So rest assured that if you are having depression issues, we're having depression issues, okay? But I'm just going to talk about me for now. My first brush with someone taking their own life was in high school. And I think I've talked about her on here before. My girlfriend at the time, Maureen, had this friend named Amy. And Amy was, I mean, I didn't see anything in her that would show that she was depressed or anything like that. And, excuse me. I thought she was always really fun, upbeat. I mean, really nothing that stood out that would say she's depressed or she was going to hurt herself or anything like that. And her boyfriend had broken up. And she went to try to talk to him, and everybody hung out in this parking lot in Bristol in Rhode Island. There was a bunch of people hanging in the parking lot, including her boyfriend. She went to try to talk to him. He didn't want to talk to her. She got in a car, kind of made a big loop in the parking lot, said, "I love you." I don't remember what his name was, and just drove her car right into a pole in front of everyone and killed herself. And that was my first, and I was dating her best friend, you know, so that was the first time I had had something hit so close to me where someone had taken their life. Now, I'm not going to go through every single person that's taken their life that I've known. But I've gone through people that were extremely close to me. You know, like my friend Joe, you guys know Joe Pacheco. Joe passed away. I hadn't seen him in 15 years. Now I'm building up to something, so bear with me. I hadn't seen him in like 15 years. We reconnected. Everything was awesome. Him and his wife were like separated at the time. And we were talking, and we were really getting close again and stuff. I lived down in Maryland. He was back up in Rhode Island, or Massachusetts rather. And then one Wednesday, I was training clients, and I got a call. I looked. I said, "Oh, it's Joe." I put it back in my pocket. So I'll call him later because with the client and stuff. And so Friday goes by. Saturday comes. I get a phone call. I see his phone. I got up. It was like 11 in the morning. I'm like making breakfast and stuff. So I flip. I go, "Yo, Joe, what's up?" And it was his wife, and she goes, "Jerry, Joe died this morning." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "He hung himself. We found him, this morning." I put my dogs in the car and I drove immediately up to Rhode Island to be a pallbearer at his funeral and do what I could for his family. And this has been something that externally has been around me that I've seen. Now there's a part that I want to talk about that's internally inside of me, okay? And explain that I myself have been on the ledge of killing myself so many times in my life to the point where I've planned it out to where no one would be able to stop me. No one would even know it's coming. It would just happen. I've literally done that so many times. I can't tell you guys how many times. Even in recent times. Even in recent times, I have put myself to the point where I've almost done it a few times. Now you might be like, "Jerry, wow, you have everything. You have this beautiful wife, and you have the awesome dog, and you have the car, and money, and house, and business, you travel the world and stuff." This is true. Like, you're doing everything you wanted to do. You beat heroin. Like, all these awesome things are happening for you. That's true. But none of that affects what's up here if it's not wired right. I do have anxiety for me, which is unbelievable. I don't know what anybody else feels like. I tell you that it ruled my life so much that I wound up being a heroin addict because of it. I wound up drinking at the age of 11. I wound up smoking marijuana at the age of 11, 12 years old. Because I was anxious all the time and it was undiagnosed. Attention deficit disorder didn't help because it was a constant not being able to pay attention at the same time being down, right? So I couldn't focus at the same time I was down. And they tried to medicate me when I was younger. They put me on Buspar, they put me on Paxil. This is before like the Wellbutrin and all that stuff. I was on Trazodone because I being depressed, I just couldn't function really. I was still going through I was doing everything I needed to do to be a person, but I wasn't making any progress as a person inside about myself. I was just too depressed. It was the anxiety causing the depression. And I remember thinking this one time, my mom's going to find me. Just like so-and-so's, my friend Timmy overdosed on heroin, died. His sister found him in his bed, 24 years old or 26 years old. I'm thinking, my mom's going to be the one that finds me. That's going to do to her what Tim passing away and his sister finding him did to her. I can't do that to my mom. Like, I can't do that to my mom. Like, it's just, and my dad at the time too, I can't do that to my mom, and I can't do that. I just can't. And it literally got to the point where I lived for them. And my dog Bruno, Nico, of course Lucky. Lucky I was okay around that time, but when he died, when Lucky passed away, I had a hard time. That's a whole, I have that story about Lucky, but basically it was my fault he passed away that I felt, and to this day I still beat myself up about it, have depression, have anxiety over what happened, and it's something that never goes away, and it's controlled now. I use my Delparol product to control it, which works amazing. And I'm able to sit here and talk about these things and not have episodes because of the Delparol. But there's a genetic component in it. I was born with anxiety. I was born with this. My father had anxiety. He had depression. He had mental illness, it's called, which anxiety and depression. He had things like he was such a creative guy that he would look at things in such a different way that sometimes would affect the way his mood was and get him to the point where it would get anxious about something, then get depressed about being anxious. And he was medicated. He had a problem right up to when he died with medications and these types of things. And the things that came out of his mouth, things he said in front of me as a kid, growing up, a teenager, an adult, those things weigh on me too. Because they're things that were negative. They're things that were bad. They're things that were unknowingly he was teaching me, although he was just reaching out in his own way to try to express himself and how bad he felt, how depressed he felt, how anxious he felt. And sometimes when he couldn't express himself, he would just blow up, right? Because he was trying so hard. They would medicate him, and he didn't like the medications, so he wouldn't take them. So my mom would sneak them to him, and then he'd take them, and then he'd be okay. And it was this big, like, roundabout thing, and that never goes away. right? We need to learn to deal with that, right? So medication for me was not something that I could deal with. I just tried to deal with the anxiety on my own. Now, I don't have chronic depression or diagnosed depression. My depression comes in waves like I guess many people's do. It used to become a lot more because of the anxiety. But now that the anxiety is under control, I don't have those waves of depression at all. Don't get me wrong. I have struggled in the quarantine like everyone else. It's a question whether or not your day-to-day activities were ever going to be normal again. I mean, this is a very different thing, which I don't know how much this quarantine is affecting people emotionally. I feel like I've been affected pretty emotionally by it, but I've been pretty happy at the same time. There's been a balance. There's been like maybe an 80-20 balance, an 80 happy and 20 bad, which is or unhappy, which is not a bad, ratio. But there are times where we get down. There are times we get depressed. There are times that anabolics make it worse. I don't care who you are, what you say. Once you come off those anabolics, you realize what you really felt on them and what they really did to you. You realize how much they really controlled you. I didn't have any fucking clue. I know now that I'm so much calmer. I'm so much more interactive with people. I mean, I'm so much more coherent not being on those steroids, which actually did affect my adrenaline levels, I guess you could say, which affected my mood and my aggression, all the things that androgens do. When you couple that with anxiety, and you couple that with ADD, and you couple that with depression brought on from the anxiety, it's a bad mix. It makes it worse. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. So I didn't even know that was happening. I made life worse for myself by taking those steroids for the years that I took them. Looking back, do I regret it? No, I'm glad. I'm fine with everything I did. Here I am today, and I'm okay with being where I'm at today. But I also know I could have made my life a little bit easier. Having that information now, when I go back, I might try something different. I might not change things, but I might try something to ease my symptoms a little bit different or something like that. But every day, is not a gravy day. And what I mean by that is every day is not a sunny day. It's not a good day. There are days where I'm down, and I'm down to the point where I'm like, why even bother going on? Why should I even live? This is real talk, guys. Like, I can't tell you how many times I was like, this is how I'm going to do it. No one's ever going to figure it out. This is where I'm going to go. No one's ever going to, they'll find me, but it won't be where it'll disrupt anybody's life. And you start thinking, because you do have anxiety, you're like, is anybody going to care? Is anybody going to give a shit that I'm gone? Who's going to show up at my funeral? Is anybody going to show up at my funeral? My father said he didn't want a funeral because nobody would show up. Nobody was going to go anyway, so we shouldn't waste the money. That was what one of my last things my dad said to my mom. And I just look at it and I go, there's always another day, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to make it another day. Doesn't mean you're going to make it another day. But just because you see us online, you see us at expos, you see us in a magazine, whatever the case may be, does not mean that we're not like you, and does not mean we don't struggle like you. Does not mean that we don't have those down times where we're just ready to fucking end it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people out there, their egos are so fucking big, they would rather kill someone else and kill themselves. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not depression. That's aggression. That's completely different. There are people right now, people that you look up to, people that you love, people that you worship, that are not only having serious issues with depression, anxiety, but they are suicidal and they're not talking about it because they're embarrassed. I am not embarrassed to say that I have thought about taking my own life many times in my life. And I say that because the people I've come in contact who finally opened up and talked because they were brave enough and had enough courage so that they've had those thoughts too. And you start comparing notes as to why, and you look at them and you say, well, yours is not that big a deal. And they look at you and they say, yours is not that big a deal. And you go, you're learning that each one of you perceive your own things as a much bigger deal than the other person would because it's emotionally attached to you and it's causing you this type of frustration. When you put it into perspective and you go, well, his is not even that bad. He goes, well, yours is not that bad. You're like, mine's like that? Mine's like yours? Really? Huh. It allows you to go inside and start thinking more. Now, of course, if you have these thoughts, seek help. I've been to counselors. I've been to shrinks. I've been on medication. All that stuff. I'm not saying trying to figure this shit out on your own. I'm not saying you're alone. I'm not saying to come to me with it. I'm not saying to come to another, bodybuilder with it. I'm saying this video is important to tell you guys that you're not alone. Even like today. Today was a perfect day for me. I actually sat in the car. We had to bring my wife's mother her stuff for Mother's Day. We're driving in the car. It was sunny. I had Brady with me in the car. I had Aaron with the car with me. The wind was hitting my face. It was sunny out. The green trees and stuff that were going by, they were bright green because it's spring. And the wind was just cool enough, but not too cold, but just almost too cold. It was perfect. For that moment, it was perfect. Now, that doesn't mean that tomorrow's not going to be a complete mess. I don't know. But I do know that there are perfect days still. And that's what keeps me going. knowing that today might just be a bad day. Tomorrow might be another one. And I completely understand when you get to that point that you're ready to take your own life, there is no more perfect days. Or at least they perceive that there's no more perfect days. All there is pain, and you can't stand another second to be in pain. And I understand that. I understand wanting to be out of your misery, wanting to be out of pain, wanting to stop the pain when you're just tired. Your body, your mind, your soul is tired. I understand that. But you can heal. All of us can heal. But we're not going to heal unless we don't help each other. Just shrinks, it's not going to help. It hasn't. It's going downhill still. Just medications, it doesn't. Strength in numbers. If you realize you're not alone, we all go through this together, we can work on it together. That's the whole point. If you keep it balled up to yourself, you're not going to win. You may make it to the end of your life, but you didn't win. Because you're going to have all these issues going through it, thinking that you have to keep it bottled up, you have to be tough, all these things. You don't even realize what people around you are going through, and it could help you. But you got to speak out about it. You got to be real. You got to put yourself in that vulnerable position, not worry what people are going to think about you, and then really realize that people are actually going to understand you because they understand that. They understand that because they've been through that themselves. And I'm telling you right now, not a lot of people are going to come out and talk about this. I'm telling you right now, a lot of people are going to see this video like, not me, I'm good, but that's not real. This is real. So hopefully this video finds you guys well, and don't worry about me. This is not a thing saying, I want to take my own life. That's not what this is. I'm not depressed. But I'm being as real as I can with you guys because that's all I can be. Without that, what do I have without being real with you guys? Be well, guys, and take this advice for what it is and just think on it. BobStreetTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BobStreet.com is a blog. So just think on it. Bicep, guys. And we are out.